In this video, I'm going to share with you how to overcome every physical symptom caused by anxiety. Now, chances are if you're struggling with anxiety, you're getting very intense physical symptoms. And what I'm about to show you is actually transferable. So if you're really dealing with intrusive thoughts, if you're getting feelings of unreality, what I'm showing you right now, you can apply the same principles to those things too. Chances are if you're struggling with anxiety and you're getting physical symptoms, you're probably also experiencing really weird emotions, intrusive thoughts, feelings of unreality like depersonalization, derealization. I'm going to really break it down step by step. This is going to be a guide to show you how to overcome all the physical symptoms, okay? So let's get Now, if you're struggling with anxiety, you may have came across a couple of terms like hypochondriac or hypochondriasis. And to be honest with you, that term isn't really used anymore, and it's not really a term I'm a fan of because the term hypochondriac can make it seem like it's an identity, right? And with anxiety, it's not an identity. Now, you may be hearing the terms called health anxiety. I also don't think that really applies and works very well because that assumes that you're scared of your health. But really what you're doing is you're responding to physical symptoms. If you're really struggling with anxiety, you know what I mean. You're getting physical symptoms that's making you question your health. That's different than just being concerned about your health. You're actually feeling physical symptoms that indicates that there could be something wrong with your health. Now, I want you to take a look at somebody who struggles with health anxiety or physical symptoms and really how their journey looks like. So what typically happens is they start feeling very uncomfortable symptoms. They may have even had a panic attack. And then what happens is they go to their doctor and they say, look, I've never experienced this before. This is so bizarre. This is so debilitating. I need to get this fixed. And maybe in the past they've had experiences like that and the doctor identifies it and gets it treated. And so the doctor takes a look at you and does a bunch of tests and looks at your results and says, hey, look, actually you're fine. There's really nothing wrong. I don't really know what's causing this. Not really sure. They may even refer you to a specialist. Now what happens is you're trying to go to another doctor, trying to identify what's happening. And then the doctor may neglect you. Just say, hey, there's nothing there. It's just anxiety. And you're thinking, wait, anxiety is just in my head. I'm responding to something physical. And you may even go to another doctor after that. And the doctor says, no, you're healthy. And you say, well, I don't feel healthy. I feel like something's off. You may feel happy that you are healthy, you get a clean bill of health, but at the same time, you're going home and you're still experiencing these symptoms. Now, what do? So now what you may start doing is you may start going to alternative doctors, like naturopaths, functional doctors that may focus more on supplements, chiropractors, acupuncture. Now you're trying all these things, trying to make your symptoms go away. Your symptoms could be anything: digestive issues, dizziness, nausea, vertigo, any symptom possible. Literally, it can cause a million different symptoms. And so you're doing all this and you're not really finding any relief. Now you start going online. Now you start going on forums. Now you start YouTubing these videos and you're trying to identify, why is this happening? Has anybody experienced this? Any tips? And you'll go online and you will start finding on forums different things. They'll say things like, oh, no, it's not anxiety. Actually, it's something else. And now you're convinced that you have something else. Maybe that thing is somebody says, oh, no, it's not anxiety. Those things are like lupus. And a way to diagnose lupus is actually very difficult. Modern medicine doesn't really diagnose lupus accurately. And you have to do this and this test. Now you're going through like this whole cycle trying to identify what's wrong. Why is this happening? You're trying to think, maybe the doctor missed something. Maybe this is indicative of something, and then by the time people find out, it may be too late. So you're trying to get it treated earlier. Now you're going online. Now you're Google searching. And now you're really spiraling. Now you can't stop thinking about this. Now you're constantly focusing on the symptom. You're wondering, has it increased more? Has it decreased? Wait, it increased more when this happened. Maybe if I try this again. And then you try it and maybe it works, but then the third time it doesn't work. And so you're trying to always figure this out. And you're wondering, is this going to be a life sentence? And if you don't do anything about this, well, then you're going to have this for the rest of your life, right? Well, I want to share with you how to overcome this once and for all, because it's actually very simple. Now, the first step is identifying if it's anxiety or not. Is what you're experiencing truly anxiety or is it not? A lot of people get stuck here because these symptoms are just too bizarre to be anxiety. They're just too profound and they're just too intense to just be something where there's nothing physically wrong. It's so believable that something's physically wrong. So what do? It's actually very simple here, which is you get it ruled out by your doctor and you believe them. Yeah. So many people go to their doctor and they get upset that their symptoms aren't anxiety, or their symptoms actually are anxiety and it's not caused by something else. And they get so irritated and frustrated. And think about it from the doctor standpoint, because the doctor, who sometimes does have to give bad news, is telling you good news that there's nothing wrong, and to see their patient react in almost like a frustrated manner where, oh, well then what is it? How do I make this go away? The first thing to do is to really understand that if your doctor's ruled everything out, that it's definitely anxiety. Now, before I get into stage 2 and really explain what's the next step is, you really have to come at this video in a certain frame of mind. And that frame of mind is, just for a little bit, stop trying to fix these symptoms. Just for once, just let them be there for now. Because what happens is that when we talk about the steps to recover, people are just so focused on how do I make this go away that they don't understand how recovery works and the steps. So just for a second, okay, whatever symptoms you're experiencing, no matter how bizarre they are, put them to the side right now, okay? And just stay with me here, okay? Now, the second step is to understand the fight or flight response. The fight or flight response is an innate mechanism designed to protect you. Every human has it. Every human on this planet has it. Understand that, because that's going to really explain why you're experiencing these symptoms, why you're experiencing such bizarre symptoms. Now, if you really want to learn how the fight or flight response works in a deeper, more robust way, I'll put a link down below to a book. It's a free book. It's an ebook, really breaking down how the steps of recovery look like in the fight or flight response. Now, what's the purpose of understanding the fight or flight response? Well, it's very important to understand the mechanics of what's happening here. And that just because you're feeling something physical doesn't mean that the source of what you're experiencing is physical too. For example, if you have heart palpitations, you may easily think that that's the onset of a heart attack. Now, that may be the case in the past or people you've known, but you've gotten everything ruled out. Now, just because you get palpitations doesn't mean it's an onset of a heart attack. It could be anxiety. That's why it's so important. Step 1 is to get everything ruled out and believe it. Now, when you understand the fight or flight response, that will give you a much better idea of how anxiety works on a nervous system level. Now, you may be wondering, okay, I understand the fight or flight response, but why am I experiencing this fight or flight response when I don't have anything to run away from? When there's nothing to run away or there's nothing to fight? So why am I experiencing this? Well, then that leads me to step 3, which is understanding the term sensitization. Nervous system sensitization. Now, here's how this works. And one of the pioneers of this was a physician by the name of Dr. Claire Weeks. She writes this book, Hope and Help for Your Nerves. It's a great book. I really recommend it. It really helped me on my journey. And she does a great job explaining how sensitization works. Now, here's how it works in a nutshell. Your nervous system has a baseline, and your nervous system is designed to handle stress. But what happens is that when your nervous system becomes overwhelmed, something happens to your nervous system. It becomes very sensitive. Your nervous system becomes overwhelmed. Now, this is a state. This doesn't fluctuate up and down all the time. This stays pretty static. Now, sensitization is designed to protect you from threats. What happens if you saw a threat once? Well, your nervous system will become very sensitive because it wants to make sure if the threat shows up that it will be able to respond. Now, here's the issue. when you are experiencing a nervous system sensitization, you start experiencing very bizarre symptoms. You start getting very weird emotions. You get very intrusive thoughts. When you get overwhelmed enough, you'll experience depersonalization, derealization. So anxiety is really at the core of it, sensitization, your nervous system becoming very sensitive. It's very important to understand this, because if you understand this, you'll recognize that there's nothing actually physically wrong with you. There's no anatomical flaw or some sort of disease that's causing this. All that's happened is that your nervous system has become overwhelmed, and the side effects that you're experiencing are these physical symptoms. Now, once you understand the fight or flight response, once you've gotten everything ruled out, once you understand sensitization, now what do you do? Well, if you understand the fact that all these symptoms, every single one, even the most bizarre symptoms, are part of anxiety, and it's caused by your nervous system being overwhelmed, you can understand the fact that for once, you don't have to do anything about this. Because you may be thinking, okay, how do I desensitize? What do I do to desensitize? The truth is that you don't do anything to desensitize. Desensitization happens as a consequence. Think about it this way. What do you do to be calm? There's nothing actually you need to do to be calm. Calmness happens as a consequence of you not fighting something, not trying to fix something, not fearing something. If you don't do those things, calmness happens on its own. If you're not fighting anything, will you naturally be calm? Now, did you do anything to be calm? You didn't do anything. You just didn't do something else. So in that sense, desensitization happens the same way. Now, you may be thinking, okay, but what am I doing? What am I doing right now that's causing my nervous system to be sensitized? Well, there's really 5 different things you can be doing, okay? And I want to break it down. It's called the 5 Fs. It's a term that one of the coaches in the mentorship, Kaylee, she talks a lot about. Her and I, along with other people, guide people step by step through this, overcoming this once and for all. And so the 5 things are this. You're either trying to fix the symptom, and you can be trying to fix it by Google searching, by going to your doctor, by getting assurances, by running to the ER, by using coping crutches like breathing techniques and yoga, all these things to try to feel better, You're fearing the symptom, right? So any sort of palpitation, dizziness, oh, it's the onset of, oh, I have low blood sugar. Oh, I am about to have a heart attack. Oh, I'm about to have this. Oh, I'm about to have that. So fearing the symptoms. The third, which is actually one that really throws people off, is getting frustrated by it. Getting frustrated by the fact that the symptom's there. Oh, why is it here? I was hoping it wouldn't be here. And then the next one is fighting it, right? Now, fighting will happen if you fear it. If you fear it, you're going to try to do everything to resist it. So you're trying to fight the symptoms. You're not trying to feel it. You're not trying to let it be there. You're trying to make it a small part of your daily living. And then what happens as a consequence, if you experience these symptoms, is that it doesn't. So you're always trying to fight the symptoms. And then the last one is focusing on it. Now, you're trying to focus on it because you're using a very logical approach to this, right? Which is, if you have a problem, if you focus on it, well, you can fix the problem, right? If you can see what the problem is, well, then focus on it, see what's wrong, and you can fix it. But what happens with anxiety is that it works a little differently. The more you focus on it, the more it grows. That's how attention works. With attention, if you focus on something, it grows. Because the truth is that when you look at reality, this gets a little bit deeper, and we don't have to go to it in this video. Everyone looks at the same thing, but everyone interprets something different. And a lot of it is based on what they focus on. So whatever you focus on actually grows. So when you're struggling with these physical symptoms, you are doing one of these 5 things. Now, you may not realize you're doing one of these 5 things, but you are. And so the real way to get out of this is by really understanding, where are you running through these 5 things, and start eliminating those things. But that doesn't happen unless you understand what's happening. And a lot of recovery is about understanding how the fight or flight response works, how sensitization works, understanding what you're doing to keep it alive. Then what happens? Well, the nervous system desensitizes on its own. Now, the last thing I'll mention is, okay, Shaan, if I do this, how long does it take for the nervous system to desensitize? Here's the honest answer: as long as it needs. Now, look, this isn't overnight, okay? It's like breaking your leg. and you're putting a cast on it. You're letting it heal. Shaan, how long is it going to take? How long is it going to take? As long as it needs to, you can focus on other things in the meantime. You don't have to fix this problem all the time, right? And so the last step is really having patience, okay? What happens, I always see this all the time. The people that want to get out of this the fastest always end up staying in there the longest. So the biggest thing is really understanding that what you're going through is going to take some time. Even in the mentorship, where I feel like people recover the fastest, even when they join the mentorship, we're not putting a timeline. We're taking it off. We say as long as it needs, because we know that the second we take a timeline off, that's when the recovery really skyrockets. So the next step is really having patience and understanding that recovery happens through knowledge and responding, right? And so instead of responding with those 5 F's, you could also look at it a different way, which is instead of doing those things, you allow your symptoms to be there. You can accept your symptoms to be there. But remember, this isn't a doing, right? Acceptance isn't something you do. It happens on its own. So if you have a hard time really grasping that concept, think about it the reverse. Well, if you're not accepting, then what are you doing? You're doing one of those 5 F's like I mentioned. So I hope this video helps. If you can focus on this, all your symptoms will eventually go away, all of them. Now they will go away at different stages. Some symptoms will fall off faster than others. Some will be a little bit more stubborn. It's kind of like an onion, it goes through layers. And it won't happen where you'll wake up one morning and it'll be completely gone. It won't be like that. But over time, it will subside. And once you start noticing that the symptoms subside, well, there's no need to focus on it because you're already getting better. You could just focus on other things, right? If I was going to tell you that you were going to be better, you would naturally let this go and focus on other things. Okay, cool. At least I have the peace of mind that this is going to get better. So that's how recovery looks like. Now, the final thing I'll say is that, look, recovery is also an up and down affair, right? It's like 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. It's not like where I gave you an example where you break your leg and your bone just heals. Recovery really doesn't work that way. There's a lot of ups and downs, a lot of fluctuations when it comes to recovery. That's why it's so important for you to be around people or have somebody guide you through each step of the way. Because there's a lot of obstacles that kind of happen. And if you are not fully aware of what's happening and not under the right guidance, what can happen is you can sabotage your own recovery. You can get impatient. You can start doing one of these 5 F's, or you can separate your anxiety symptoms into like 5 or 6 different problems. So what I would recommend is understand how anxiety works, learn how to respond, and have a guide to guide you through each step of the way. And so this is how you fully overcome health anxiety. This is exactly how I did it. This is how exactly hundreds, thousands of people that I know have recovered too. So I hope this video helps, and I'll see you in the next one.